Hey y'all, welcome to Farmer Brown's Paradise. This will be the first gardening video for 2023, and I'm going to try to be better this year about going over a few things. I think just because I have hundreds and hundreds of videos on this system of gardening and just every aspect of gardening, that I'm like, what can I show you that's any different this year than it is from the previous years? Nevertheless, I know people on my group page at least like to see what I'm growing and how things are going. So I'm just going to quickly go through each bed and talk a little bit about what we've got going on, problems that I see. Most of these things have been planted for 2 weeks, and I'll go over what's been planted from seed and what we actually bought this year. I did not seed start anything except for what's out here in the garden seed start. And you know, with times the way they are right now, growing food is an exceptionally good idea. And even if you don't have the space you think for it, this system of gardening can be easily set up and done in a very small space, any sunny spot that you might have, even a patio or a deck. To learn more about the RGGS system and the kiddie pool system, I will link those videos, the introductory videos, in the description box below this video. So we are in garden bed number 1. I used to call them 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is just 1 and that one's 2. So let's go over what's in garden bed 1, the problems I'm seeing, and how I'm going to address it. In this garden, I have 2 rows of green beans. I only planted our favorite variety this year, and that is the strike bean. They grow very, very well. Now, in the past, I've only put 1 bean plant per 5-gallon container, which is really fine to do. Your bean plant will get quite large. With beans, you don't have to fertilize them, really. If you have some good potting mix and compost in there, that should do it for the season. However, I always do feed my beans with either fish and seaweed emulsion or compost tea that I make. I usually make the tea once or twice a month, and the rest of the time, maybe once a week to 10 days, they will get fed with fish and seaweed emulsion. Now, on this row, they've been planted for 2 weeks. This time, there are 2 bean seeds in each bucket. I see one where there's 3. I'll take one of those out. With that in mind, since I have 2 bean seeds in each bucket, I will need to feed them at least once a week with the fish and seaweed fertilizer or the compost tea. Now, I have a problem with one of them, and we're going to draw close. At first, I thought it was squirrels. It could be, but I don't think this one is. I really think that this is a bean plant that, it fertilized. but I do not think it had the vigor to grow. I could be wrong because this also looks a little chewed. So it could definitely be our squirrels. So anyway, that's not gonna do anything. So I need to replant. Not sure why the other bean seed didn't come up, but you know, that happens. All right, this one had 3 plants in it. I carefully removed one, put it in here. I don't know if it'll survive, but worth a shot to try. And then I'm gonna add another bean seed in there also. Now I soak my bean seeds somewhere between 2 and 4 hours in water and hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide acts like a scarifier for seeds. It softens it and helps that seed break a little faster so the embryo can come out to grow. Now also, I am seeing, not on every bean plant, but I'm seeing chew holes on a lot of them. And usually I do not like to start my spray schedule until these have had a couple of weeks to really get established. But we will have to start spraying for bugs this weekend. And if you want to know what we use for bugs, gosh, there's so many videos on that, but I'll link that one too in the description box below. In this row, which is the front row, which gets the most sun in this particular garden, is okra. And I'm trying a new variety this year called jambalaya. Purchase it from Hoss, H-O-S-S. And they said that it is a hybrid variety, but they said it's the most productive okra they've ever grown. Really heavy yields, and they start actually producing okra when they're only 1 to 2 feet tall. Now these have only been in the ground maybe a week, if that. Yeah, I think barely a week. And they're all popping up. I did 2 in each bucket except the center bucket, and we ran out of potting mix, so it doesn't have as much in it, so I only planted 1 okra seed in that one. But you know, I've not always had all my okra, the different varieties I've had, come up, but these just sprang up, so I'm hopeful about those because we do love okra. In these 3 little buckets, I'm trying a new summer squash. I have summer squash elsewhere, which you'll be seeing shortly. But I bought those others as plant starts. These I started from seed at the same time I did the beans. And it is called Rise and Shine. It is a hybrid. Produces 4 to 8 inch bright yellow fruits. And the bushy plant spreads about 3 foot maximum, taking up less space than your typical squash. These seeds, as I think I stated, were planted 2 weeks ago. I planted 2 seeds per bucket. This bucket and this bucket, both seeds came up. Only 1 came up here. So at this point, it's kind of time to decide which one I want to keep and which one I want to let go of. I kind of like the upright nature between the 2 of these, although this one looks slightly more advanced in the size of their leaves. I am going to take that one out. With squash, you do not want to pull the plant out because they really don't like to have their roots disturbed, and you run the risk of damaging the remaining one. So cutting them out is the way to go. Same thing here. Going to eliminate this one. This particular variety will only grow about 4 feet tall. It is recommended to stake it, but I'm going to let it get a little bit taller before I put the stake in. However, at this point in time, I do want to try to protect it from the squash vine borer, and the way I'm going to do that is with foil. I've shown that before. And the foil has worked for me. So what you really want to try to do is bury it about 1 inch below the ground and 3 inches up the stem. I don't have 3 inches here, but these bottom 2 leaves are the cotyledon leaves that are in the process of dying and eventually falling off. So I'm going to go ahead and take them off to give me a little bit better access to the stem. And I'm going to gently pull back some of the potting mix because I want to try to get, like I said, about 1 inch below and 3 inches up. I don't have 3 inches at this moment in time. So I'm just going to go up as far as I can with it. I'm going to leave my fold on the outside so that as they grow taller, I can come back and undo it, unfold it, and raise it up. You don't want your foil to be so tight that the stem doesn't have room to grow bigger, but you don't want it too loose either to where that moth can get under that foil and lay its eggs. Next step, they've been in here for 2 weeks. I will do these other 2. Actually, I may wait on this one. It's really short. I'll do this one. But the next step is going to be to add fertilizer. I use organic fertilizer, so I want to use twice the recommended amount of a 10-10-10 synthetic. 10-10-10 synthetic is a ring of 1 cup to 1.5 cups of fertilizer around the outer edge. So I will be doing somewhere between 2 and 3 cups of organic fertilizer. I'm going to be using Espoma Garden Tone. Really good organic fertilizer in my opinion. Because it is organic and a slow release, I don't have any concerns about it burning the roots. So you will see me just kind of sprinkle it around the outer edge and kind of just mix it in. After that, I need to cover the squash with some sort of covering. I used to use Easy Straw. I've had a hard time getting that for the last 2 or 3 years. So I will just be using pine shavings. This row here again are strike beans. And again, I think squirrels ate them this time. Let's look here. I mean, there are no leaves except for the cotyledon leaves. And they were all looking like this. These look a little more stunted here. Not sure why. That could be the seed. Look. Completely eaten. That had to be squirrels. We really have trouble with tree rats. So I will replant these buckets. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's debatable. But I will give it another week, see how it does. And if it doesn't, I'll yank those out and plant new bean seeds in there too. I planted 4 cowpeas, the pink eye purple hulls, in each bucket. And they came up very quickly. Planted at the same time as the green beans. And you know, cowpeas are a legume, just like the green beans. So they don't need a bunch of extra fertilizer. They will just get the fish and seaweed emulsion. The bed in which we usually plant sweet potatoes, we had up near our house. The wood was rotting. It'd been there several years, so we had to tear it down. But we do want sweet potatoes. So I have sweet potato slips, plants, planted in 12 different grow bags on the ground in both gardens, and we'll just have to keep them watered if we don't get good rains. In this back corner, again, we have a sweet potato and a blueberry bush. The story about the blueberry is we thought last winter when we had a super hard freeze that we had lost 3 blueberries up in our modified KPGS. Another sweet potato. I'll spin around here slowly. There's our modified KPGS. Well, it turns out we didn't lose 3. We lost 1. But we had already bought 3 blueberries. So, one is planted in this garden in a grow bag, and the other one in a grow bag in the garden below. That sweet potato is looking like it really needs some water, although it just rained. But look at that one. See how much better it looks than that one? I think it needs some water. One big change we did this season is we moved all of our 14-gallon totes for tomatoes on the back rows of all 3 of these sections here. And we did it because this back row gets all morning sun, little bit of noonday, and then just scattered sun as it goes behind the trees on the, what end would that be? The west end. But on this row, we used to have all tomatoes in this garden bed, but on this front row, it gets afternoon sun pretty scaldingly, and we noticed our tomato plants suffering from that, so that's why we made that change. Now, on this row, same problem this year that I had last year. For some reason, the squirrels want to eat my pepper plants. It's really weird. This is poblano. It still has some leaves on the top. Hopefully it will survive. More beans. This is not a hot pepper, and they're still eating it. Big Bertha Bell. Petunias are supposed to help the growth of pepper plants. I've got one. I'm not sure what I think it's a bean plant. Don't know what happened with that because I planted 2 and it's really puny. Here's 2 more of the strike beans. This is a gypsy sweet pepper, again, eaten up. Strike beans and hot banana. It's got a nice flush of leaves at the top and some blooms. Hubby's home. So maybe the squirrels will start leaving it alone and these will survive. Who knows? On this row, I have peppers on the end. This is the mammoth jalapeno. And on the other end is Tabasco. Squirrels have eaten leaves on both of them. Not so many though on the Tabasco, interestingly enough. These are cucumbers. They're just the Boston pickling cucumber. I did buy these from the garden center. Some are doing quite well, like this one, but there are way too many plants in this 5-gallon bucket. You really should only have a maximum of 3, 2 to 3. This one has 5. But cucumbers are plants that do not like their roots disturbed, and when I was pulling them out of their little packets, I just decided to go for it, leaving the 5 in there. This one has 3. I need to help get that up on the trellis. This one has 3, not doing quite as well. Looking like it's going to need some fungicide soon. Same with that one. See? So, I'm trying to push it to wait till the end of May when the product we love, Actinovate, is supposed to come out for sale again in the 2-ounce packages. Additionally, They're supposed to have a 2-year lifespan now on the Actinovate powder instead of just a 1 year. Now, I think the reason this one is so small and that one down there is no longer is because I did try to separate the plantings. And like I said, they don't like their roots disturbed. So this one looks like it's a little bit in shock. The other one completely died. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant today some cucumber muncher seeds in the buckets that have one or none. We really love these. A few people on my gardening group page suggested them a few years back, and last year was the first year that I planted munchers, and they're really a great little cucumber. Cucumbers are heavy feeders, so they will be getting the fertilizer. And I may go ahead also and put some pine straw on them just to cover them up a bit. I don't know how you guys are feeling these days, but times seem to be tough, don't they? They seem to be changing. We have an administration that just came out and said our inflation is 4.5 or 4.7 or something like that. You know, the funny thing about that measurement is they changed the measurement. They excluded fuel and food. Two things that all American families need the most of. Not the other stuff. Anyway, I've been thinking for a very long time now how close we really, really are. And instead of being fearful, in fact, it says 365 times in the Bible to its believers, fear not. If you aren't a believer, gosh, I don't even know how you're dealing with this world. But the last generation, we're it. That's what I believe. That's what probably hundreds of thousands of people believe. By last generation, that means since Israel became a nation. Boy, if you don't believe in Bible prophecy, that's a big one. There is no other group of people that were scattered almost annihilated, brought back into their land, brought the dying language of Hebrew back, and they're flourishing. Just this past Mother's Day, in America anyway, we celebrated the 75th year of Israel being a nation. That's on the calendar that we use. The calendar that Israel uses, they celebrated it on April 26th. Nevertheless, a generation in the Bible, according to Jesus, is 70 to 80 years. So we're at 75. Don't you think it's crazy? All the things that have been happening in the United States that I never in my lifetime thought could be happening. But I'm 63. So I've seen all these changes firsthand, as have many of you. Am I afraid? No. This is a great time to be alive, to see what's going to be happening in the world. Normal isn't coming back, folks. Like my shirt says. Normal isn't coming back. But Jesus is. I hope you know him. I hope you have a personal relationship with him. Because in the end, that's all that's going to matter. We all have an eternity. It's kind of like in the real estate world. You know what they say? It's location, location, location. Bye. Keep looking up and have a good one.